All right, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Leadership Blend with your host Ricardo D. Rice and my return guest, the phenomenal Dr. Latarsha Holden. Say hello to YouTube and Facebook Live. She's returning to talk about running for public office, and she ran for District 11 or 4?
11.
District 11. She did not win, but she got darn sure close.
Yes.
And we learned today that some very interesting stuff happened on the campaign trail. So everybody stick around. We're going live in a couple of minutes. I promise you don't want to miss today. You do not want to miss today. Anybody that has political aspirations or some other topics we will delve into, just stick around. It's going to be interesting. She's an interesting lady anyway, but today is going to be really interesting. So everybody just hang on. We're going to go live in a couple of minutes. So just hang on. All right, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and in some places, good evening. Welcome to another edition of the Leadership Blending with your host, Ricardo D. Rice. It is a lovely day in Atlanta on today. I am shocked. I had one outfit on and had to actually go change. I did not expect that today. It was a little too early for that. But you know what? I'll take the good weather because, hey, it's going to be a good day. I hope everyone had a good weekend. I know mine was full with work. We are in the lovely holidays, so it's time to spend money and decorate houses with lights and reindeer and Santa Clauses and all that good stuff. It's just another time to spend money. But anyway, today I have a return guest, which I like that word, return guest. Dr. Latarsha Holden is with us today.
Yes, hey.
So say hello to the people.
Hey, everyone, how are you?
All right, so those of you know that back in July, Latarsha was with us, and she was running for public office. She was running for Atlanta City Council, District 11.
Yes.
And now everything is over with. The dust has settled. She did not win, but she did exceptionally well, all things considered. So the purpose of today's show is, and FYI, for those that actually saw all my social media, Dan Burrows was supposed to be here as well. He also ran for District 4, but he got called away for something, so it's all good. He owes me, so it's fine. I like people owe me, so he owes me. But he also won. He did not win either, but both of them did a phenomenal job. And the purpose of today's show, if any of you have aspirations to enter politics like myself, yes, I do plan on running at some point. When I become, this big conglomerate organization and all this good stuff, I plan on running for public office because most of you don't know, my undergrad is in pre-law, political science. So I had aspirations of going to law school and all that good stuff, and I changed because it costs way too much. And some of my friends went. It was a good idea that I did not. They're happy, but they're in the poorhouse. But they're happy and they're practicing law, but they're in the poorhouse. So it's all good. But today's purpose is to talk about the campaign trail, what she probably just to get her thoughts, what she thought she could have done, what she actually learned, to give us that special insight. So for those of you that remember, her testimony alone. We were almost in tears last time. That's not happening again.
No.
That's not happening again. So I'm telling you now, I'm not crying today because I'm just not up for it. I'm too tired to cry. So we're not doing that. So without further ado, Dr. Holden, introduce yourself and we'll go from there.
Okay. Well, from those that don't know me, I'm born and raised in Atlanta. Came out of the projects, the old Carver homes. And as for those, just catch up, last 10 years, God has just did phenomenally in my life. Took me from a high school dropout to a GED, from a GED to a PhD student. Now I'm an author of 12 published books that's online. A documentary came out on my life last year. And went from homeless to political candidate. I tell you, God,
don't forget that's not all of it. That's not all of it. You have what, 6 kids?
6, oh my goodness, 6 children, 4 grandchildren. All of my children are, I tell you, I am blessed to see that they are doing very well in life.
The last time she was here, I couldn't even talk. It's just the story of how a single parent goes from homeless with 6 kids to going back to school, being a doctorate student. And I'm not even getting to the whole book thing. I'm finally going to finish my first one. I told myself it needs to be done by the end of the year, but I'm lazy. So all I did was take most of my dissertation and put it in it because that's really what it's all about, generational leadership. So yeah, I'm behind you. I mean, I'm only going to have 1, but I don't have 12. But, tell us about documentary. I just realized, what did they...
Yeah, the documentary actually captured that homeless experience. And I tell you, it was beautifully done. Anyone that has an organization that, whether it's a women's ministry, homeless, out youth, I guarantee you that documentary is about 30 minutes long. It would definitely give a joke to their hopelessness, bring them out of hopelessness. And it was just the tale of how did I come out. So you're able to see and feel the move of
So
God.
is it like the Tony Braxton story? So somebody's playing you and stuff, where they're interviewing you and talking to you and you're having to relive scenarios and stuff?
Both. Interviewing me, talk with me, and they showing different things. And a matter of fact, my daughter is in it. She has 2 dance partners she dedicated to me as well in that documentary.
Really?
Yes.
Who did it? Who did the documentary? You did, or somebody?
The founder of the Apex Museum, Dan Moore Sr., and I think it was a collaboration with Modest Media. So they heard about my story, and they just felt it had to be told in a documentary.
How did that feel for you? Like
That my
like
gosh.
I can't even.
Yeah, and that's available on Amazon as well.
I was gonna ask you, where can you get that?
Yeah.
What's the name of it?
The No Longer Lost, the Latarsha Holden story.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So let's get into it. Political candidate.
Yes.
So when you were here, you had. Let's talk about your platform. Let's go back to
Okay.
your platform. So what were your platforms?
My platform was affordable housing for the homeless. So I'm big on affordable housing, job training, public safety, and education. Everything on my platform I personally experienced. The education from the GED to the PhD, so I'm big on that. The affordable housing, being homeless, I definitely understand the effect of that. So everything, the job training, I was a graduate of New Choices training program for women who want to go into construction. So everything on my platform I personally experienced. So it wasn't just something I was coming up and feeling. I can actually walk the people through it.
And I remember you talking about the area you lived in, because I was asking you what area were you focused on. In real time, actually getting out there, getting into the community, what did this actually look like? Like, we have theories,
Yes.
and then when you have to put those theories to practice, were they correlated or were they on opposite sides of the spectrum? Like what you thought versus what you actually saw and actually heard when you actually were campaigning?
I think for me, I was more like a bridge. District 11 is the biggest district in Atlanta. So it goes from Camilton Road, Greenbrier, Princeton Lakes, Count Creek, Cascade Heights, Cascade Road. So you have like the Buckhead and Bankhead together. And for me, when I talked with the constituents, it was like, wow, we finally have someone running that truly understands, because you actually worked your way up from the bottom.
And that was whose district?
Keisha Bottoms.
Did you ever get to meet her?
No, I haven't. No.
You never got to meet her?
No.
Were you in company of her at least? Did you actually like...
At forums. You know, whenever they have a mayoral forum, I was. But not actually personally. No, I never got to meet her.
That's amazing to me. All right, so the district... All right, so moving forward now, because who won?
It's a runoff between Harold Hartnett and Marcy Overstreet.
So you know both of them? You got to mingle with both of them?
Yeah, I did. On the campaign, I got to know them at forums. Got to a little bit know. Yeah, I got to know them. Probably got to know one candidate a little bit more than I wanted to, but yes, I got to know them.
We can get into that. We'll get in that in another segment. We're not going to jump out the gate on that one. She had some very interesting things happen on the campaign trail. All right, let's talk about money.
Yes.
How big of a difference did money make?
You know, it's weird. I think a lot of people was not, especially probably the other candidates, was not expecting me to do as well that I did. I basically came in right after we qualified. So although I did my declaration of intent back in February, I actually started campaigning once I qualified. We talking about the end of August. So the race is the election day was November the 7th. So, I campaigned off of $1,500 to their $20,000 to $50,000, and I lost about 400 or 500 votes.
That is... Look, the mere fact that you were able to pull it off,
Yes.
like I had to bring you back because again, those of us that want to get into politics, you hear everything, but these are theories. So I wanted to actually talk about what it was in practice.
Yeah.
So your fellow constituents were running with $20,000, $30,000 war chest.
I think one of them even went up to $50,000. And once we paid our qualifying fee, which is about $1,800, I only had $1,500, 2 months to campaign with. So for me to get almost 900 votes to their 1,400, 1,200, that was wild. So when I actually touched the people, they knew that I had the heart for them, that I actually been there. I'm not just talking theory. I'm just not talking off because I had a degree. No, I'm actually talking from a lived experience. And so I think I was able to reach the people and connect with the people. I just didn't have enough money to kind of connect with more.
So I'm sure you'll do something else.
Yes.
What would you have done differently, money-wise? Like, was it a matter of just not starting on time or not getting the jump like everybody else to be able to, or was there other routes you would have gone?
I think a couple of them, what I'm finding out, they knew a year ahead of time, so they had already pre-prepped themselves. For me, I just knew that my time that I was going to run had came, and I just jumped in. I didn't have a campaign manager. I didn't get endorsements. So for me to lose my voice,
That's it?
That's it. It was just me and my 3 kids campaigning.
Okay, now, because I know I saw you on social media a lot, and I saw that you
Yes.
actually were really, really in the community.
Yes.
So I was like, okay, well, she's doing it.
I'm not.
She's out here doing it. So I was like, okay, well, I don't know how much money she's working with, but she's out here, like, doing it. So, I mean, there's no path that they give you, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But is there, like, third-party vendors to get the signs that go in the yards, that have your name on them and stuff like that? Did you know about that kind of stuff? Did you have that kind of stuff?
You know what? I didn't know. Like I said, since I didn't have a campaign manager, I just knew that God did not bring me this far for me to just walk around with my head like I've made it out. I knew that I had to go in, so I just went in. And I knew my love for people and my journey had brought me there. So we had maybe about 4 or 5 signs. We just couldn't afford it. We just could not afford it. But the last 2 months, so my last 2 months compared to their year or 2 years preparation. And so that was God. That was all God.
All right, so take me to election day, like when everybody's going to polls, and what were you feeling? Where were you? And take me to that day.
Oh my goodness! I remember me and my kids. We stood out with our signs and everything. Election day, I fell asleep. My mom called me. She said, "Wow, you did awesome!" And I saw 833 people had voted for me. At every precinct, someone voted for me. And so at that moment, I was elated. You know, I knew then that God had, I don't know, I was just like, I was kind of just blessed. that was, I think, people was like, how did you do that with just 1,500 compared to they 30,000? And I said, I think the people are tired. I think the people are tired of the same old, same old. But when I met people, it's almost like their eyes lit up and like, wow, finally, somebody is running for office that's actually been what the people's been at.
So you think it was a platform thing? Like if you had more platforms? Because I think it was. I think your testimony is what had really paved the way for you. And like I say, you and Dan were both on the show, and Dan's younger. He's African American male. And I warned Dan. I was like, Dan, you have to do some more. I will give it to you. You did social media. Like people don't understand. And people don't understand. I'm learning myself. Like the power of social media can change. And most of it's free. So it's just a matter of exchanging money for time, which honestly, I'm learning they're equal because the time sounds free, but trying to make time to literally stay on social media every day, every hour, every minute. Like I leave the show and I have 6 things that have to be uploaded, including the website. I'm just like, what in the world? But you did the social media thing. I will give you that. Like, I saw it.
I worked it. You know what? That's all I had. As leaders, we just take what we have. And I said, well, I don't have the money to actually go out and do the yard signs and banners. But if I can just reach the people, and I work social media like it was my 8-hour job.
I saw you. I was proud of you. I was quite proud of you. All right, buddy. We're going to take our first break. And when we come back, there are some heavy issues we're going to get into. So stick around on the Leadership Blend with your host, Ricardo D. Rice. All right, everybody. So y'all heard this. She's going back into her testimony when we go back from break because people that missed the first show, I want y'all to hear the testimony of this woman. It's amazing. And then we have some very hard topics and situations that we're going to have to tackle. And she's going to have to give her opinion on the runoff and who she's voting for and why she shouldn't, why she won't be voting for some people and things of that magnitude. I was trying to get Keisha on the show. I couldn't get her. I couldn't get my hands on her. And I just couldn't get my hands on her. So I was like,
Well, she's, I mean, that race is so intense. I guess she's just trying to keep that tunnel vision. She's probably not spreading herself too thin. But it's one. I'm ready for it to be over because it's kind of like, okay.
I know because I follow both of them on Twitter. I'm just like, every day, every 20 minutes, I'm just like, okay, can we pick one? Can we just pick one? I mean, my fear though is I'm starting to see lines divided.
Yes.
And I'm starting, and those of us that live in Atlanta and are up on the race, I'm starting to see color lines.
Yes.
Because you can tell who's falling on sides. And it makes me a little concerned.
Yeah.
Because I did not expect that. So that's a little alarming.
Yeah.
Like I've seen on Keisha's side, I'm seeing the Candy Burris's and the rap stars and things that magnitude. On Mary's side, I'm seeing other politicians and people weighing in. Actually, I think Kwanzaa Hall endorsed Mary, I believe. I want to say one of them.
Caesar Mitchell endorsed her and Shirley Franklin.
I was like, oh.
I know.
Hey, so we.
It's definitely one of those intense races. I mean, I think Atlanta probably haven't seen one like this in a long time.
Who do you think will win?
I don't know. They so close neck and neck, I know they.
All right, everybody, we are back to this week's edition of the Leadership Blend with your host, Ricardo D. Rice, and my very special return guest, Dr. Latarsha Holden. On the break, we were kind of gossiping, which I don't typically do, but this is politics, so you really can't be gossiping, but we kind of were. And we were talking about the mayor race between Keisha Lance Bottoms and Mary Norwood, and I was telling her that looking at it, I think it's putting the state in a situation I'm not really happy with, because if you really watch and pay attention to it, it's starting to turn into color lines. When you watch who endorses who, where people are falling, it's good, but then you start. I think it's the same thing with President Trump and what we're seeing. We're seeing people and types of people that we actually thought were long gone, and now they're coming out the woodworks, and you're just like, oh, where have y'all been? Like, where y'all been hiding at?
Exactly.
And I think we're starting to see that in this race. The people that are endorsing certain candidates and the lines they fall on, And politics can be a very interesting creature. But I'm actually going to segue on that note. Since we're in there, I'm going to go ahead and open this can of worms since we're segueing that way. Okay, so in the media lately, you're seeing a lot of people coming forward about matters such as sexual harassment, statutory rape, things of that magnitude. And today unfortunately, we're gonna have to get into that today because a part of her journey was, I'll say, tainted
Yes.
for lack of a better word. And no, I wouldn't tackle this kind of situation, but it's already been brought to light, so it would be a disservice to not go into it, because when we start talking about women leaders and the things they go through versus male leaders, you can run into this lane, and it's not a very good lane, but it's something that we must discuss. And I know you want to, because I know how you are about advocacy, so I know that it's something you want to discuss. So I will let you get into that.
Well, on my campaign trail, it kind of got a little sour at the end. I was sexually harassed, sexually advance was made towards me. I was even groped by candidate Harold Hartnett. And for me to come from being homeless, single mom, someone that just struggled, and I actually fought my way from the bottom, it really disturbed me. The first time, I think it was around September the 1st, when we first talked via telephone. And the conversation was going well at first. We was talking about the campaign, and before I knew it, he was like, "Hey, when we gonna get together? What's up?" And I was like, "Huh?" Cause I'm like, "What are you talking about? What's up? When we gonna, get to it?" And I was like, "Are you serious?" And then he started to go into details about, I heard about a woman with a lot of kids, about how the sex is, and can I send you a picture of I said, well, no, since we're on air.
Yeah, yeah.
And when we hung up, I just sat there for a minute. I said, "Wow." So he must think I'm weak because I had 6 kids and I was homeless, and so that kind of died down, I thought. And then we went to the forum at IBEW. Stand Up was having the forum. I'll never forget. And me and my son was walking out. He comes out the building. He said, "Hey, Latarsha." My son kind of walked out. I said, "Yes, how can I help you?" "Man, you was looking good. What's up? When we going to get together?" And I looked at him. I said, "Man, why you keep messing with me?" I said, "I don't know what you think this is or what you think is going on. I do not understand. Why do you keep messing with me?" He just started laughing and he walked off. The second one, we was at Mount Carmel Baptist Church at a forum. And I was giving me a little plate of food and he walked up. I'm like, "Lord, here we go." "Hey, Latasha," I said, "What's up, man?" And he started again, "When we going to get together? What we going to do? About the sex, this and that." And the first time, and I just looked at him and I said, "I do not know why do you keep messing with me." I said, "I don't know what you're trying to do or what you got in your mind about me, but it's not the right thing." But I remember when I went back and sat at the table at the forum at that church, it almost got to me. I said, "Well, maybe I ain't nobody but someone who just has 6 kids. Maybe I'm still, in my mind, the enemy had started talking. Maybe I'm just a loser. Maybe that's the reason why he's coming at me." And I almost let that joker talk me out of standing at that forum. My self-esteem, I was just like, maybe I should just get up and walk out. Maybe I don't belong here. But I had to encourage myself and say, no, I fought my way here. And I deserve to be at this table just like him and everyone else. And I stayed. But then at that third forum, when we was at Reverend Brown Church, me and my kids were walking out of church. He came out and he's like, "Hey, Latarsha again." And my kids kind of just walked up and I said, "Yes, how can I help you?" "Man, I didn't know that was you in those jeans. Golly." He making these comments and he grabs my butt.
Wait, and we like in broad daylight, or y'all were in?
We was in the parking lot, and I looked. And I said, "Man, why did you just touch me?" What, Latasha?" "I just had to give me a feel." I stood there, and he went back into the church, and I got in my car, and I told my kid, I said, "This joker just grabbed my butt." And I went home, and I remember crying. I said, "God, it's funny how people see you." And I just started remembering. I said, wow, now I understand why people don't come out and tell. We always want to know why people wait 10 years and 15 years. a lot of emotions ran through my mind. Who's gonna believe me? Fear, anxiety. But I remember being a pastor. How can I tell a young person to come forward if they're being raped or molested if I'm scared as well? And so I'm just here. Whether I was still homeless, I still did not deserve to be touched. I did not deserve to be, harassed. So I just came forward to tell people, I don't care if you're homeless, you work at fast food restaurant, no one deserves to mistreat you and harass you and actually put their hands on you.
Okay, so have you seen him since?
No.
And is he one of the ones that's running off? That's in the runoff?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So let's revisit emotions because again, men may go through this, but it's not. I'm sure not even remotely number wise close to the number of women that go through this. Mm-hmm. So it happens the first time, and what do you feel immediately in that moment when because he's married, correct?
Yes. And I said, you got a beautiful wife. Why are you doing this? Oh, she worked for Delta Airlines. She be gone 3-4 days a week. Like, what's up? I got a lot of time. We can get it on. I'm like, and at that moment, he kind of hurt me as a brother because I'm like, wow, dude, but you looking at me as someone that what? Because I was homeless. I said, what? Because I was homeless. What? Because I had 6 kids. Well, why are you coming at me like this? And I just felt degraded. I felt humiliated, and I was like, no, I fought hard to be there. No one gave me anything. I was not in that race because I was aligned with a political connection or I knew anyone. I was there because God brought me from the bottom to be able to fight for others. That's why I was there. So for someone to look at me like that or to come at me in that way with such disrespect, it was disheartening.
So I mean, because I'm not a woman. So what can a woman do in this situation? Like, do you call the police? Do you make a statement? I mean, what are the options? Are there options?
Well, what he didn't know was I was telling people along the way. So it was every time he would do something, I would say, man, guess what? This guy did it again. Or this guy just called me and asked, basically, when we going to get together, it was about sex. And I would tell people along the way, but deep down inside, I would sit back and, I don't know, I remember crying one night. I'm like, God, when he touched me, I'm like, I felt powerless. I felt like, wow. So he really felt to the point that I was a nobody, that he just felt I could just touch her. She ain't nobody. Nobody knows her. She's with no political connection. And so for a minute, I said, no, I cannot remain silent. I'm not going back in bondage for him or nobody else. For me to come from homeless for 2 years with 6 kids, for me to fight I've been standing and fighting for people, speaking out at the SCLC, Stop the Violence, for me to, because if I remained silent, I was going to go backwards instead of going forward. And I just refused not to go back because God brought me too far.
Okay, so that's, I guess when you hear these kinds of things, you think about power plays and back in the old days in slavery and things of that magnitude when women were kind of merchandise, for lack of a better term. I mean, do you think it's a psychological playground? Like, okay, well, could be a contender, so let me knock her out the race. Let me get in her head. Or do you think it was just that's the kind of guy he is?
I think of both. He was a little too open with it for me. He was too open to where for a minute I thought maybe they swingers. I mean, I literally thought something maybe. He was so open with it. I said, well, maybe. But then I thought, because I think he knew too that the people received more from me out of all the candidates when we went. I think it was more of a contender. She could be the one, maybe I'm in the runoff with. Maybe something. He almost got me off my game though, because at Mount Carmel I was just fed up, and I almost started crying. And walked up out of there because I allowed his advances to get to me, but I just had to self-talk and encourage myself. You would not get up. You deserve to be here just like everybody else.
This is one of those very rare shows for individuals that, especially my psychologists and psychiatrists, who delve into sexual abuse for women. I would love, because she didn't hit me with this until I got to the studio. So this is kind of one of those things I'm kind of walking through. Because had I known this, had she sent me a text message, I could have had some more facts and stuff of that magnitude. I'm curious for those that work with women, the psychological process they go through and why they immediately go to this place. Because for a man, our instinct is probably the opposite, depending on the situation, and because we're fight or flight types. So instinctively, we be ready to go at it, before we can even think about it. Adrenaline's going, we ready to go at it. For women, it seems like it's almost the opposite. Like you immediately went into, am I worthy? Why this happened to me? And then there were advances after that, and it just seemed to have dragged you a little farther. So I'm curious for those individuals that are psychologists, psychiatrists, call in today. I would love to know people who have more insight into why this is a thought process for women. Because I know that strong women can be an attraction for men, because and you have this little air about you, and you're pretty. Let's just put it, you're pretty. So you have this air about you, and it may be some kind of signal, some kind of indicator. It's nothing that you do. It's just powerful women carrying the fact that you could have almost won. Yeah. I mean, it can be a turn on from what I've heard and so on and so forth. So those that are psychologists, psychiatrists that work with women, battered women, I would love for you to call in to chime in on this conversation. 404-355-8699. Again, 404-355-8699. Would love to hear your thoughts on this. For you, I mean, standing now, you didn't win, but with all of this, how do you feel now? I mean, like, are you empowered to go kick in some doors or kick some people? Just not me. Or kick some people. I mean, what are you feeling now? Like,
I feel like I'm empowering others to come forward. When you realize, because sometimes you don't understand why people wait. And as a pastor, I look at everything so I can be able to minister. I understand now. I understand why people wait 10 years or 15. You're scared. You're in a position of who's really going to believe me? Who's going to believe? So I'm more empowered because hopefully I'm opening the gate for someone else to say, someone did this to me and I want to tell somebody.
All right, and on that, we're going to go to our third break. Everybody stick around. We can get more into this with the Leadership Blend with your host, Ricardo D. Rice. Okay, people, so we opened that can of worms, and for everybody on the Facebook Live feed, I would love to get your thoughts about women. And yeah, call in 404-355-8699. We'd love to get your thoughts, especially for my leader women's. Hey, Ashley. My cousin Clara Vet works with women, so I'm actually going to let you call in today because this is your field. So I'm going to let you call in today if you want. But I would love to, if you don't want to call in, you can write your post down on Facebook Live. I'm watching the feed. But, I mean, this is becoming a problem. Like, we're seeing it every day. 6 and 7 people coming forward. And so, I mean, how do you finally get the strength to come forward? Like,
you know what? I think for me, I worked so hard. I mean, I will be going backwards. If I sat in silence, then that means the next time someone do that, you lose power each time you allow someone to violate you. You lose, and I say, I'm not going backwards. Because my mind, he almost got me to walk up out of that forum. So I knew then that I was starting to lose ground. I was starting to lose belief in myself. And I said, no, you're going to stay here. So I just didn't want to go backwards. I worked too hard to be where I'm at.
So you think there are other resources we should create for women what would make this process easier? Like, what would make women feel more comfortable?
People stop blaming them. It's already hard enough to come, especially someone that's in a position of power. The first thing, why would he do that? He's this and that. Okay, until you're in those shoes, we don't know why they do what they do. We just know we was violated. And for me, I think he came after me because he was like, who knows her? She's a nobody. She was a homeless mom. She had 6 kids. But what he didn't know was I was a fighter. I did not get here in 10 years. I did not go from a GD to a PhD, homeless with 6 kids, an author 12. I did not go there being a weak person. So he miscalculated.
All right, everybody, we're back with this week's edition of the Leadership Blend with your host, Ricardo D. Rice, and my very special return guest, Dr. Latarsha Holden. And when we left to go on break, we were tackling a very not joyous topic of sexual harassment, particularly in power players. And when we left, she was going into, we were talking about her experience with sexual harassment. So on the break, I was asking her, What can we do to make this easier for women to come forward?
I think people need to be more understanding, just more loving and compassionate. We don't want to allow these guys. I don't know that man from a can of paint. I didn't know him besides me and him at this point. I mean, in the race. Why would someone lie? That's what we have to. Why would someone want to lie? And I'm not saying that there's not that one or two people out doing whatever they're doing, but for the mass majority, you have to listen and believe these people. If not, that's how, and I believe the reason why guys do what they do, because they know the stereotype, people going to start blaming the woman. Who's going to believe them? And they know that what keeps them more powerful, because who's going to talk? Who's going to say this what happened? And like I said, I just refuse. I'm not going into 2018 with this on my back, and I'm demonstrating waiting 10 years to come out.
So do you think it's a cultural thing? Like we as a culture, is it a culture we need to change? That's more inviting, so if a woman takes it, is adamant about this thing happening, that we immediately start looking into it? So you think it's a cultural thing, or it's just...
Well, one thing I know across all racial lines, they don't care if you're rich, poor, black, or white. I just think it's more of a power play, and men chooses their victims carefully about who's going to... It's almost like if the person is less believable or who they find weak, they prey on. And for this brother, he just ran across somebody who's not weak.
Which is ironic considering where you've been. So let's get into where you've been.
Yes.
Because let's segue into your best. For those that did not get to hear the first show when she was on in July. So let's start from the beginning about you.
I tell you, I was a defeated woman. I dropped out of school 15 years old, had 4 kids by 22. By the time I was 35, I was homeless, living in a board-up house as squatters. I had no money, I had no education, and I definitely was underemployed. And for me, I was scared. What do I do? But it was at that moment, first thing I did was I said, what am I going to leave my children? And that's when I decided to leave a legacy for my 6 children. And I told my kids, I said, I want to teach you all how to serve. And they were like, Mom, what are you talking about? We don't have anything. And I said, I know it, but if I can teach you how to give back now, while we don't have anything, I believe I'm giving you a strong foundation to stand on to become great leaders. And out of me showing my kids, we did 4 or 5 events in the community, got the newspaper articles, because some people think you fabricate. I don't know. My son came to me his senior year and said, Mother, by you showing me how to give back, my way is going to the United States Marines. He's been in the Marine Corps 10 years now. I just went to Tennessee about 6 weeks ago to pin him at his ceremony to Staff Sergeant Holden. Another daughter came to me and said, my way of giving back is going to the medical field. She's an EMT, studying to be a paramedic. I have another daughter going into her 3rd year at Capital University, getting a bachelor's in human services. 16-year-old daughter who's a Christian leader, youth leader and 2-time published author. Another son that's gainfully employed, and my 15-year-old son is a youth athlete. And I told my kids, I said, if I can teach you now, I said, when we was homeless, I never saw a youth home following a funeral procession line. And that lets me know we can't take nothing with us.
All right, so how fast does homelessness happen? Like, because I've never been there. So how fast does it happen? Because, you see people, and I've had some real estate people on, and we talk about people getting evicted and the time process that it takes to properly get evicted. How fast can it happen? Like, how fast did it happen for you?
You know what? Paying for divorce. Once that marriage, he walked away. I was stuck. I was verbally abused. My self-esteem was shot, and that's how I know it was just like that. From staying in a board-up home, cars, scraping up money for a hotel, even living in a shelter for about 2 months. This went on for about 2 years. That's how I know. There was no one there. I didn't have family help. I didn't have resources. God was the only one that brought me here. I didn't have it. I wasn't that smart to go from a GED to a PhD student. I was not that smart. I was not some brainiac kid that just lost her way. No. It was only God that brought me this far. Only thing I did was participate in the relationship with him. And when I took a step, he took 2 towards me. And that's why I refused to go back to being a victim, to being in bondage to anybody. And that's when I began to speak out.
All right, so let's look at, because like I said, I want to get into this the homeless thing, and I want young ladies who are struggling with this to get a idea of what it was. So you drop out at 15.
Mm-hmm.
You get married.
Mm-hmm.
Were you already had kids by the time you got married?
No.
Or
I have 4 kids. At 22, I was not married.
so you got married after you had the kids?
Yes.
And then he leaves.
Yes.
What was life like when you were married?
It was pretty good at first until he told me to start a business in contracting, and I did very well. That's what part of it is in the documentary. That's what led into homeless. He did not like that I started to do well after he met me. He said he just didn't feel right about it, so he started to verbally and mentally abuse me until when he finally broke me down, because I had a business. I was known as Lady Contractor. And when I gave up fighting, that's when he left. And by the time he left, I tell you, my self-esteem was so shot, it was just torn. It was just gone. And so when he left the marriage, I just found myself at ground zero, rock bottom.
So let's stay in that moment. So because there are thousands of powerful women, which you've been a power player for a hot minute, and it's to see it's like watching one of those graphs, and it's like up and down, it's like up and down, up and down. And okay, so you're this strong woman who's running this contracting company, and you're going home to an abusive environment.
Yes.
Like, what is that like? Like, how do you keep the strength to get up the day and lead people, and then come home and have to deal with, the mental and, was it physical abuse or just mental abuse?
It's physical. Matter of fact, in my book, No Longer Lost, it talks about that I was shot at with a 12 gauge shotgun in a heated argument. And it was only by the grace of God that when the gun went off, it kicked up and it missed me probably by a few inches, probably a few feet, I mean. I never thought that spouses could be jealous of each other. That probably was the most, I never thought, why would you be jealous of your spouse? That was crazy to me. And I said, well, you told me to start this business. Why would you be mad that I'm doing well? He said, I never thought you would do that well.
Really?
That's what he said. I did not. He said, so really to him, it was just something for him to say. Start a business. I help you. I'll be an electrician. And when I did, matter of fact, my major contract was Habitat for Humanity. I wired up several of their houses. Avondale Estates. Washington Lost and Avondale Estates. We wire up the whole under my company. We had the electrical contract for that. Even when Earthlink went through a renovation, we did part of their electrical work as well. And I was known in the community as Lady Contractor. I was a graduate from Goodwill Industries, Women in Construction. And so he was just like, I just was not expecting you to do as well.
That's okay. Staying here because you're also a pastor.
Yes.
So the Bible speaks about being evenly yoked.
Yes.
Do you think that was a problem? Because y'all were out of sorts. Because what did he do? What did he do?
He was an electrician. So he was my electrical, but I wasn't, you gotta think about, I was not raised in the church. Me and God didn't get a relationship until I found myself after the divorce in the homeless, in the trenches. So for me, but I remember we did go to counseling once, and the counselors heard the story, and he was like, oh, so what I realized is she's more of a CEO and you want a mom and pop business. And he said, yeah, kind of sort of. He said, well, I see the problem. Y'all visions was not matching. And so for him, and for the first time, you gotta think about it, I was doing good for the first time in my life. This homeless, this high school dropout, this mother of 6 kids at the time, for the first time in my life, I was doing good. But I could not enjoy it because my husband did not hate me. He did not like the woman I was becoming.
All right, so we're there. So you're this, and again, and this is. We didn't go over this the first time, so it was everybody. We did not go over this the first time, so it actually. My goal is to create a picture of what this looks like, and I have very powerful women who desire that are in my circle, who is African American women who desire to be married, and my fear has always been something like this for them because they're getting older, so they're getting to the point where it's like, well, I just want to be married, and I just want to have a good husband, and I find them settling for men who are not equally yoked with them, and the fear is that this could happen. So ultimately, what happens? He just one day he's just like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Well, the verbal abuse, and I'm feeling bad. I love my husband. I loved him, so I was torn. The moment when I looked in the mirror, I was loving the person I was in. I was hating her at the same time. Because I could not, my husband's no longer, he says, in love with me. And I'm like, are you serious? And so once he knew that he had broke me down, I didn't want to do the business anymore. Because he was like, if you love me, you'll give up the business.
Really?
And I was like, oh my gosh. And because I didn't know anything else, I was really surprised that running a business came easy for me. I guess, hey, that's why I got an MBA. So I guess it was in my blood, but I was surprised just like he was.
All right, so, wow. So again, he gets fed up and he just walks away.
Yes.
What was that? What was that day like? Like you came home and he had his bags at the door, and he was like, "I'm out," or he just emptied the bank accounts and left. You know, we see all these scenarios on TV. And he emptied the bank accounts and left. I mean, what were we talking about? Like,
you know, I think for him, once he knew I didn't have no more fight, he knew that the desire for running a business was no longer in my thought process, and slowly you just start drifting apart. You start living separately and never got back together.
wow. Okay, so again, this was my fear for a lot of my female friends, that this could happen to them. But we're gonna go ahead and take our last break, and when we come back, we're gonna get final thoughts and the wrap up on this very full show today with Dr. Latarsha Holden. So stick around, the Leadership Blend with your host, Ricardo D. Rice. Man, you trying to kill me today?
I know. Every time I come here, I feel like full. It's like, just feel full.
All right, everybody. So we've had a very, I think this is the fullest segment.
Every time I come in here.
Girl, so she comes in say full just to get me, and then it just like people ask, like, how do you come up with questions? I honestly, as you're talking, they start popping up, and I just make sure that they lead us where we want to go. Marriage, tips on marriage.
You know, you don't. My first tip I would give from learning: never lose yourself for nobody. That you can love someone, but not at the expense of who you are. That's probably the first thing I realized. Don't ever give who you are up to love someone. That's not a person for you. You shouldn't have to sacrifice who's God calling you to be, who God created you to be in a relationship.
There's a lot going on in the world, and your world is always changing. That's why it's
So she married somebody that has the same interests as you?
Oh yeah, now you know it's different. I've got no.
Actually, would you get married again?
I'm scared now. I am. It's not like it was 20 years ago. Relationships are not like it was back then. You know, people actually marry for love. Now it's about what I can get from you. It's a contract, you know. And then soon you don't fulfill that contract, they want to divorce you. So, I don't know.
You don't get to say that. You don't get to say, I don't know.
I don't know.
All right, Pastor Holden. We will switch hats. Pastor Holden would pass. I mean, what? Do you believe in the concept of marriage anymore? I guess that's a better question.
You know what? I do. I think marriage is the most beautiful thing that God orchestrated. You know, you got this one person that's going to go through life with you, ups and downs. When people go home, the party is over. That one person is supposed to be there until God calls you home.
All right, everybody, we are back with this week's edition of the Leadership Blend with your host Ricardo D. Rice and my trying to make me go gray guest, Dr. Latarsha D. Holden. Today's been a very interesting show. You know, just knowing that this kind of stuff can happen to somebody who's close to you or in your circle, and because for me they're almost the same thing, whether you're directly close to me or just in my circle. You know, when you go through these kinds of things, if I can help give a platform or a stage, which every time she comes in here, and again, mind you, we're tackling this, and I only heard about this when she literally walked in the studio, and I'm putting my bag down. She's like, yeah, let me give you a full warning. I'm just like, okay, sure. And then she drops this bomb, and I'm just like, oh my God. And there's no way we can get around this today because it's a part of what happened on the campaign trail.
Yes.
All right, so let's switch hats. So out of the ashes, because I love the whole phoenix concept, the bird that burns itself every couple of years and becomes in essence, a new version of itself. So I call it the Phoenix Complex, and it comes from X-Men too. You know, I'm a superhero fan. So out of the ashes came Pastor Holden.
Yes.
So what does that look like? Who is she? Like who is Pastor Holden?
You know, hopefully I am the person that people see, and the title, I don't, you know, because at the end of our journey, God's not impressed with our titles. But when people see me on social media in person, they actually see love and compassion in everything that I do. From writing my book, speaking, someone that actually tries to show, because I know what it's like. So Pastor Holden for me has just been an extension that God uses me to actually show the love of his son to the people in the earth realm. And I love it. I love it. That's why every book I write it with passion and love. I'm trying to love on people who I probably never meet. And so that's my goal, even to my 6 children, to love them unconditionally. That's all I had to give them. I didn't have anything to give them materially, but to love them unconditionally. And I feel that when God called me home, if I didn't do nothing else right, for them to know that it's all about service to others. That's how I done my job.
All right, so over the break, we were in. I'm going to ask you this to get on the air because I'm going to ask you this to get on the air. On the break, we were talking about marriage.
Yes.
Do you still believe in marriage?
Most definitely. I think it's one of the best things that God orchestrated, created. I do. I believe in marriage if you are with the right person. The wrong person can take you down a road that you don't want to go down. But with the right person. But I don't know, today in this time, it ain't like it was 20 years ago.
Yeah, people just aren't made the same.
Yeah, 20 years ago, people were getting relations for love. They wanted to, grow old. And now it's about what can you do for me? Love, marriage is more of a contract now than a covenant. And I think that's why we're seeing so many divorces.
Would Dr. Latarsha... I'm going to ask, would the doctor ever get married again?
That person better love them some Jesus. That's it. I'm not unequally yoked with nobody. I'm not rushing it. But yeah, you have to be someone that my goal is to what I think when you get in a relationship is a person's purpose in a marriage is to show yourself as a representative to Jesus to that person, to help grow and uplift that person so they can become all they can be. If you're not ready to help that person to become, and I'm not just talking about financially, we're talking about just holistically. If you're not ready to invest in that person where they can become all they need to be in Christ, you're not ready for a marriage.
Would you ever counsel? I mean, because that can go up under the pastor part. Would you ever do marriage counseling?
Most definitely. Because it ain't about whether you're divorced or not. To me, it's about the love, what it actually takes to have a successful relationship. My ex-husband called maybe a couple years ago, and after he left me, he said my life ain't been right. He's been strung out on drugs and struggling and everything. And I just said, well, I pray for you. And he said, ever since then, all you do, you're nice to me when you see me. You pray. I say, because I realized that you didn't know God. And so my job is to show you the love and compassion of Jesus. Now, me and him will never get back together, but he said, you know what, I just never been right when I left. So some people have to learn, when it's finally over.
How big of a role did forgiveness play for you?
Oh man, it plays big. Can you imagine everything that people don't know about us? God forgave. Everything we think we've done in darkness or we've done in the confine of our home, wherever. If God can forgive us, how much more can we forgive someone else?
How long did it take you to forgive him?
It took a minute, because I think he broke, it wasn't just that he wanted to leave. You had to break me down to do it. I think I had to fight. I'm still fighting for Latarsha. I'm still fighting that I deserve to be here. That's why when that incident happened with the sexual harassment, I said, I'm not going to go backwards. I have to fight for me. And that was part of me fighting. I think part of your forgiveness, for me, it was more of a process with that relationship, because I just when my little wings was beginning to flap, it got clipped.
That sucks. That sucks. All right, let's get out of that vein and let's get into because we're in the wrap up. All right, so campaign's over, the election's over. What's next?
Well, now with my book, How I Rebuilt My Life, my training manual, I'm going out trying to do workshops and trainings at different organizations to help show someone else the 7 things that I did that I put into motion to go from the GD to the P. What mindset did I have to change, or what thoughts or process I had to go through to become the person I am today within 10 years? What did I do different? And so now I'm doing speaking engagement, workshops, and trainings. And so I'm just trying to go out and actually help my other sisters and brothers prepare to what they need to be doing.
All right, so outside of money, what else did you learn about campaigning and running for public office?
Just need a good team. You need to prepare a good team. If you're thinking about running, prepare a good team because it's more people. The thing is, people need to see you out there visible. So when it comes time to hit those doors and knock on and have a good support team that's actually going to be there, they're going to walk that journey with you from point A to point Z.
Would money be the biggest thing that you would have done differently?
Yeah. If I would have known, probably prepared a year before. Money basically, as you see, we've seen even with the mayor race. You know, we had some people raising some serious money that didn't even touch Miss Bottoms or Mary Norwood. So money can play, but it's also how relatable are you to the people.
So you think that was your greatest asset?
I think that was my greatest asset. Like I said, for me to come in the last 2 months, basically to campaign out 1,500 and lost by 400-500 votes, I think people was relating to me. They I think I was more relatable than the other candidates.
So what other office would you run for?
You know what? People ask me why I'm thinking maybe who knows, in 4 years where I'll be, but I would like to try again for city council. So that's probably my next move.
All right, so in the final, we have a caller. So caller, you're on the air with Ricardo Rice and Latarsha Holden. What is your question or comment? Oh, so like Offset.
You know what? If they don't, I think you know what, they should start having it. I think this is the time that it needs to be brought to our children, because like you know, we have so many people growing up with stories that they've kept secret. Maybe it was that gym teacher or someone that they trusted that has touched them in their program, not just grown folks. But that's one thing I'm going to start advocating for, to see how can we get that back into schools so kids don't have to grow up with this secret all their life.
All right. Thank you, sir. All right, so in the final 2 minutes, give us Dr. Holden's final thoughts.
Whew, I tell you. Well, first of all, I want to let everyone out there know that own your space. You deserve to be here just like the next person, and that's the reason why I fought for what I believe in. Fight for your dreams. We don't know when our last day here is going to be, going to end. Live every day with everything you got. That's why I teach my 6 children. I don't care if you're the janitor, you be the best janitor you can be. Everything, love with your heart. Do everything with your heart. Go out there, love, serve, and leave a legacy. Figure out what legacy that you want to leave for your family. And legacy is not all about money.
Absolutely
legacy,
right.
if teaching my 6 children how to serve, and they got the grasp of that, and they're leading them their own special way, that's what it's about. So figure out your legacy, serve, and own your space. You deserve to be here just like the next person.
All right, special thanks. Thank you for this show today. For those that don't know, and I didn't realize it the other day, there are only 2 shows left of the Leadership Blend in this year, because Christmas takes my last Monday. Okay. So there are only 2 shows left of the Leadership Blend, and actually today's show is a great segue to next week's show, where we start doing the final 2 shows, which are 2 forums. One is for black women, one is for black men, because it's been a full year for us in the African American community. I would like to hear what the women have to say and what the men have to say. So next week is the part 1 of the 2-part series of the finalizing of the year. So you definitely want to be here next week. Thank you, my darling, for coming in. Y'all have a great week. I'll see you all next week, same time, same place, on the Leadership Blend with your host, Ricardo D. Rice. All right, everybody. I can't breathe, and I've never had to think so fast in my life. But thanks to Dr. Holden for coming in and just sharing your story and just. You covered so many topics. That, what are they going to talk about next week when I have 3 women in here? What are they going to talk about?
Well, maybe they'll pick it back off something and say, you know what? Something she said, but God is good, man. Thank you for having me.
Of course, you're a friend of the show. You're a friend of the show. So Facebook Live, thank you, my cousin Nikki. I didn't get to talk about what you said, but everybody will see it on the feed. YouTube, you'll be up in probably about another hour and a half. Thank you guys for tuning in. I will see you next week again, part 1 of a 2-part finale of the Leadership Blend for the year 2017. It's been an amazing year, and most of you know that I didn't find this, it found me. So I've spent most of the year adjusting, and it's been a great year. So I will see you guys next week, same time, same place, 11 a.m., iHeartRadio, Love 860 a.m. Y'all have a great day.